Welcome to the chaos. I'm all blurred. Don't know that I'm supposed to be blurred. We are live. Welcome. Chaos behind me. Got Celine on. Turn a bit of Celine off. Alexa, pause. See? She's the only person in the house that periodically listens to me, and I do use the phrase periodically really strongly because quite often she doesn't listen to me either. Oh, I've got one person here. Hello. Oh, five. I don't like Facebook. You can't do hearts on Facebook, can you? With hearts, I just feel the love. I don't feel it on Facebook. Welcome everybody. I hope you're all well to a live Q&A with me, the Honest Midwife at Your Baby Club. What have I got to tell you? I've got some quite exciting stuff to tell you actually. We've got some new classes coming out this week for you to book on, so they're not actually happening this week. There's one this weekend which is pelvic girdle pain, so we have done that one before but it's still quite new. So for anybody that's pregnant and suffering with pelvic girdle pain, I'm sure that Laura will put up the link where you can book the classes, or follow me at the Honest Midwife on Instagram. So that is with our specialist women's physio, and that's all about hints and tips on how to really reduce your discomfort throughout your later stage of pregnancy for pelvic girdle pain, and lots of opportunities to ask questions about labour, birth, that sort of stuff. So there's that coming. I'm going to insert this. I'll ask some questions, then I'll tell you about the other. I'm very polite to my Alexa. Not normally. I normally am like, shut the Alexa. She does get me to fever pitch, and I have to say it does make me laugh, Laura, because my brother-in-law is Argentinian, so I speak Spanish, and he will sit there and he'll go, Electa. She doesn't take any notice, like she didn't then. And he goes, Electa. It just goes on and on. And in the end, he's like, fucking hell, Electa. We're like, Fernando, shouting at her like that isn't going to do any difference. But then I'm from Lancashire, she doesn't listen to me anymore. Anyway, how effective is a sweep at 38 plus 3 days? Meant to get one on Monday before being induced on Friday. So it's a really good question. I think if you were likely to go into labour in the next couple of days without the sweep, a sweep might bring things along. I think if it's like, you know, way too soon, it won't do anything. But equally, if you're quite happy to have one, won't do any harm. But yeah, it's entirely up to you. But I think sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It's easy as that, I suppose. Hello, Sam. Oh, I've started getting giddy. I do sometimes, Sam. I sometimes get a bit giddy. Oh, there we go. There's the link for the pelvic girdle workshop, which is brilliant. Good feedback from there. Sam Welsh, I'm due 22nd of May, and would your opinions on VBAC, please? Really stuck on what to do. So that's sometimes, Sam, it just depends on the reason that you had a cesarean section the first time. So VBAC is basically vaginal birth after cesarean. VBAC. We like to put a thing on everything, don't we? So it's like, say you had a cesarean first time around because your baby was breech. Well, it wasn't that your cervix just didn't open or just didn't, follow the rules. It was your baby that was in an awkward position, so you had a cesarean. And again, a lot of the time when women have cesarean sections when they weren't expecting them, so say the labour just didn't go in the direction we wanted it to, a lot of that is often down to baby's position. So if baby's pushing its head on one side and the cervix is just moving on that side and not the other, and we don't get rid of that cervix, then we go for cesarean. So it's going to depend really on the position of your baby. Yeah, so lots of women do go on and have a vaginal birth after cesarean. What I would say though is that when you're going for your antenatal classes, or maybe and they say, oh, second baby, it'll be a breeze, you are very much birthing very similarly to a first time mum because you've never actually pushed that baby out. So you may find that you dilate quicker if you dilated well the first time round. So yeah, lots of it's buts and maybes. Not sure I was very much help there. I am 12 weeks pregnant and suffering with the worst headaches for the past 3 days straight. Can you recommend anything? Well, now you've said that, I've had the bloody worst headaches, but I keep waking up in the middle of the night with headaches. I know you don't need to hear about my problems, but I am. Make sure you are taking paracetamol. Lots of people fall into this trap of, oh, I'm not going to take it because it's not good for baby. Paracetamol is absolutely fine, and in actual fact, it's worse for you to suffer with a headache than take a couple of paracetamol. So take regular paracetamol every 4 to 6 hours, assuming you're not allergic, make sure you stay hydrated. And if they do persist and they're really bad, go to your doctors. But you should find that they start to settle down. But again, if it's really, really bad, go to your doctors. What is my advice on getting a COVID vaccine whilst pregnant, because the trials have not taken place on pregnant ladies? Do you know what? My verdict is out. I am confident in the vaccine, and I do think we should all get it. But I think, like you said, there isn't any trials on it as such. But I just think sometimes we've got to trust the people in higher places than us. They know more than us. And if they're saying it's safe, I think you've got to go along with that to a certain degree. I've just been called for mine. I do feel like ringing them up and saying, excuse me, just want to make sure you do know that I'm only 44. I'm not 54. I look it, but I'm not. Because, yeah, please book your jab here. And I have to say, I've got it. I was like, ooh. But it's not because, one, I don't like having injections. I am one of these funny, it doesn't bother taking blood. That does not faze me. Injection, I don't like it. So I'm just a bit of a wuss, but I will get it done, because at some point they're going to go, no, you not go to Mexico, you not COVID vaccines. I'll be like, all right then, do it. I'll go. That's fine. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, Indy. I am planning a third child and had my 2 previous with C-sections, the first in emergency and the second in elective, which was so much better, isn't it just? Then I thought for speedy recovery. I was out the same day and calmness throughout. My question is I would quite love to try a VBAC with my third, but is it possible after 2 sections? You're going to have to speak to your consultant about that. They're probably going to say a C-section is probably the better route. But they might say, yeah, they might do. But an elective section is not to be sniffed at. It's very nice. I had one. Government website is the best place to go. Last I heard, you can't have it when you're pregnant, but you could be wrong. You can have it when you're pregnant, Louisa. They are giving it to pregnant women. I don't know whether it's a mass rollout with pregnant women, but there are pregnant women, like key workers who work within the NHS. They are still being offered it too. They're still being offered it. I've got really bad back pain since I had my daughter 9 years ago. Now I'm pregnant, 23 weeks. My back is killing me and the pain is going down my leg, and felt I need some advice. I think that pain down your leg, that is nerve pain. And you've had a really bad back ever since. So I think we've got an existing condition here. I would probably go to your doctors, Danielle, and ask for a referral to physiotherapy. 23 weeks pregnant. I mean, you could sign up for the pelvic girdle workshop and mention it to Michelle, because again, it could be a postural thing, but again, that workshop is more for pelvic pain. So whether you think it's all connected in that area, you might equally benefit from having a maternity belt, but you would need to have advice from a physiotherapist. And I think at 23 weeks, you should go to get referred. You've got a long time to go yet. I'm 14 plus 5 and on baby number 3. I think I felt flutterings a week ago, but I haven't felt any more. With my last pregnancy, once the fluttering started, I felt them lots. Is this normal? Well, 14 weeks, it's very difficult to say, because sometimes people do feel them as early as that, but then that's not to say that we would expect you to necessarily have a pattern. But I think if you are unsettled, it's worth asking your midwife to just have a quick listen in, just so that it reassures you. But yeah, it can be normal, and it may not well necessarily have been what you thought it was initially, so hard to say. I'm not being very helpful today, am I? They say if clinically vulnerable, advice is to get the vaccine. If low risk and shielding, don't need to take the vaccine. There you go. How effective is the switch? Oh, I've done that one. I've had 2 large babies, £9 plus, which ended up in a lot of blood loss, 2.4 with my second. My bump chart predicts up to 5 kilograms. Would I be induced early if it looks like I'll have another big baby? Yes, I would have thought so, Lindsay. I would have thought so. And with a 2.4 blood loss, would they recommend a section? 5 kilograms. Holy moly, how big's your husband? That's a very large baby. Lots of cuddles there. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought they want you to go over if they're predicting a baby that big. My little boy is 3 months old and has flat head on one side. Will this get better, or will his head stay this way? It will probably get better. Likely to get better. You might want to take him to a cranial osteopath. They might work wonders. But yeah, it will probably get better. And they'll grow hair, lots of hair. You won't see it quite as much. When they get to 18, they go, I'm going to shave all my hair off, Mum. Go, I wouldn't if I were you. But honestly, I wouldn't worry. We've all got different shaped heads. Baby breach at 34 weeks, scan at 36 weeks to see where baby is. I've read mixed opinions on ECV. What do you think? So I think at 34 weeks we could still turn baby turn. How many weeks are you now? So on the 10th of April, we've got a turn baby turn class, which I was going to talk to you about, which is with Carly, which is doing lots of different things to try and encourage babies to turn. A bit more around back to back, but my opinion on ECV is it's got a 50% success rate. If you are really desperate to have a vaginal delivery, I would give it a go. But like I said, it's 50-50 as to whether it will work. But yeah, I don't have any strong opinion either way. I'm due in 3 weeks and going to be induced. Can you tell me what will happen, as my last pregnancy was spontaneous at 33 weeks? So Claire, what I would say is try and do the class 2 that I run, because that whole conversation of what will happen fills practically a 2-hour class. But with if you already had a spontaneous delivery, I would say induction is likely to be much quicker. But generally what they do is they give you drugs to open your cervix up so that they can break your waters and get things going. But I go into it in real depth in class 2, and the next one is a week on Tuesday. Yes. I have varicose veins and they are quite bad. I was okay with my last birth, but I'm worried about it. I think if they're really bad, Kim, I would go to the doctors. They're not going to do too much about it, but if they're in your legs, you could wear compression stockings or something like that. And again, I try not to worry too much about it, because I'm not going to do anything about it in pregnancy. So I think I've answered the VBAC question. Advice on VBAC after one emergency and then one elective cesarean, one emergency will be 2.5 years. I think there'll be a discussion to be had with your consultant, and they may well say after 2 we would advise you go for a section, but have that discussion. Not sure if my 7-week-old baby is constipated or straining to poo, then when finally goes it's like diarrhea. It's amazing, Kelly, isn't it? You're like, oh my god, you must be trying to pass something that's so difficult, and then all this fluid comes out. But it's all just getting them working it around their system, so I really wouldn't worry. You could maybe try some baby massage routine techniques, just to circular massage in a clockwise direction on their tummy, cycling with their legs. The best tip is to put a really nice white expensive baby grow on them and then lay them down everywhere. Why you put on weight drastically after a miscarriage? I think there's a lot of things in there, and it may not just necessarily be physical. People might be eating for a bit of comfort and that sort of thing. It might be just as your hormones are settling down. But again, I think just be really kind to yourself and just give yourself a bit of time. Also got a small lump next to belly button. Can't see it but feel it after C-section. Is it normal as it's sore? I wouldn't say that's something that I would see routinely, and again, I would ask your GP to have a look at that. Can you opt for a C-section if you suffer with SPD, sciatica? I have torn a muscle in my groin. I'm in extreme pain all day. This is the 3rd baby in 33 weeks pregnant. You could offer for a C-section, but they're not going to do it any earlier for you. But you could ask for one. Yeah, you could ask for one. I did for my 3rd and it was great. I think we're talking about cesarean sections here. So I'll just see if any more questions come in. In the meantime, I will tell you about the other classes. So yes, we've got Turn Baby Turn, which is for basically babies that are back to back. That's with Carly. It's an hour-long session, and it's all about giving you some really good hints and tips on putting your body into positions that open up that pelvis and help baby to move without you having to go and stand on your head against an ironing board and do all sorts of headstands and all that sort of stuff, but worth a go. We've also got Nikki, new to the team. She's another one of our specialist women's physiotherapists, and that's for all of you ladies that have had a baby and have looked down and gone, oh my God, what's happened? And it's about getting everything back as it should be. So you'll often have heard me talk about mummy MOT and physiotherapy assessments, which they are really great, but they're quite costly. So Nikki, who's a physiotherapist, she's put together a workshop, 90-minute workshop, to really give you some good advice and talk to you about things to be looking for to help you get things back into shape. So that's coming up. We've also got a diabetic workshop coming up with our new obstetrician, Matthew, and I just need to confirm a date before I can tell you much more detail. But that's for anybody who's been diagnosed with gestational diabetes and just would like that bit of space to just ask an obstetrician who specialises in gestational diabetes, just to ask those questions and sound off, and so it's just a real good solid workshop and some management ideas and that sort of thing, and what we can expect about delivery. So really good. What are the timescales for induction, i.e. if due date was 17th of August and lady does not go into labour, could she have the baby over 2 weeks later, therefore have a baby in September? Not for that reason. That's not a reason to say I want to delay and I want to have my baby in September. Yeah, that's not, you wouldn't do that. And they would, they wouldn't. But having said that, I mean, you can say, I don't want to be induced, I want to wait until September. That is your right to say no, but I have to be honest, I don't think it's a good reason to do so, to hold back just to get a September baby. But in theory, you could. Yesterday I got a stitch type pain on my right side of my stomach. It's still painful if I'm moving, but eases a bit when I rest. Is there anything to worry about? I'm 17 plus 5. Sarah, it's really hard, bless you, when you get any of these pains, you're like, oh, I don't know what that is. Could be that you've just tweaked a muscle. We've no way of knowing, have we? And especially at 17 weeks, if you've not got to that point of feeling movements or anything like that, it's really difficult to know. I would say if you've not had any bleeding or loss from down below or anything like that, then you can probably chill out, and hopefully it will get better in the next 2 or 3 days. Fingers crossed. If not, do speak to your midwife. How common is prolonged jaundice? My little one is 3 weeks old on Saturday and we have to go to hospital tomorrow because of this. What shall I expect? The only thing they've mentioned is that she will have bloods. Baby is exclusively breastfed. Not sure if that has made a difference. She also late to latch due to posterior tongue tie and now has been diagnosed with reflux. So prolonged jaundice is not uncommon. I wouldn't say it happens with every baby, but it's not uncommon. Like you said, they will do bloods tomorrow. So they'll take a little tiny blood test from baby's heel, and that will give it's called an SBR, it's your split bilirubin level. So when blood cells are broken down, an excess product of that is a product called bilirubin, and bili is yellow basically, and it rises to the surface of the skin, and that's what gives the yellow appearance. So they just want to make sure that it's not creeping up and up and up. So depending on what the result of that is, they may send you back home. They may want baby to go back under the lights, but it will just depend on what those results are. But they are really good at managing it. So breastfeed babies are a little bit more prone, which is why we give the vitamin D drops as well, and that helps to flush it through. Could I ask, what weight gain should you expect? So I think that depends on what your weight is in the beginning, but I think the sort of guideline is around between 1.5 stone to 2 stone on the maximum level. But the bigger you are when you start, the less you're supposed to put on, in theory. That's the guideline. I'm 37 weeks and having bad itching. Any bloods taken or all normal? Advice taking Piriton. You might want to have a look up a condition called PUP, P-U-P-P. There is a post on my Instagram about it. I can't remember what it's a word that long, but it's called PUP, and it's about itching in pregnancy. And like you said, as long as you've had your bloods done and they're normal, it's just a case of managing it. But I know that on that post, loads of mums who've had it have put up various remedies that they've used that can help. So, like chamomile and all that sort of stuff. But there's some really good remedies on there. I can't quite remember what they all are. But yeah, have a look at that. I'll have a look after here. Just write it down. And if it's been taken down for any reason, I'll pop it back up so that you've got something to have a look at. Thank you. I'm just so fab. Thank you very much. See, it's not the same as hearts though, is it, Leanne? Where's the hearts? The hearts. Yes, so lots of classes on the offing that are coming up. There's my dog on my sofa. Is there anything else that I need to tell you? Cesarean section workshop tonight for anybody who's coming in for a cesarean, and that's with me and Matthew. Matthew is our anaesthetist, and we're going to go through the whole thing. What happens, what it looks like, what they do. I'll show you the procedure here in my kitchen. Now, I've got a video to show you. So there is still some spaces on that if you wish. And I think that's about it. Oh, sorry, the weight gain question is for a newborn. Such a diffy bugger, aren't they? She's doing well, but feeding, it doesn't seem to be putting loads of weight on. She's staying on the 55th centile so far and has made it perfect, Leanne. So if she's staying on the centile, happy days. You don't want any more than that. That's fine. Sometimes they go a bit above, but it's more if they start to tail off that we don't want. But staying on the centile and they've put weight on, put back to birth weight, then that's good. It's going in the right direction. Wet and dirty nappies, tick, tick. Waking up for feeds, tick. On the same centile that she started off on, tick, tick. Lovely, lovely. Lots of ticks for you. Right, I'm going to go because my son's in and he was doing a lot of banging around. He's obviously not in a very good mood. Let's go and find out what that's about. The joys of teenagers. You're all ace, as always. Oh, Indy, you got that in at the last minute. With my last baby, the midwife recommended putting lavender oil and tea tree oil into the bath to heal after natural birth. Do you have any other advice to heal? Staying hydrated is your key one. Good fruit, veg, good diet, rest, and just not overdoing it. But I like the whole lavender tea tree thing. Won't do you any harm. Spritz for bits. It's another one. Quite nice. Yeah, that's about my recommendation. Right, I'm going. I shall see you all soon. I'll be back on Tuesday over on Instagram with Your Baby Club, but don't forget to follow me at The Honest Midwife, and I'll see you all soon. Bye. I'm going to do my bloody washing. Lazy bugger. Bye.